I'm wondering with the notion of what's happening with political correctness in the West right now, whether we're moving from that notion, a democratic notion of an open society, to exactly the point that everything is forbidden unless specifically sanctioned. That we are afraid to do anything, to say things, to openly question things because of the impact of the strong pressure from the internet and the backlash. So I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, I'm sort of partly sympathetic with that notion, but sometimes I think it could be the exact reverse. We're living through a strange form of sexual revolution. Let's just keep in the sexual field for a moment, in which, I don't know about you, but I've been to half a dozen gay marriages now, and they're so completely taken for granted.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're just as boring as straight marriages, and the priest is a woman, and the sermon is just as boring as it used to be and delivered by a man. But there is this extraordinary embrace and tolerance that would have been inconceivable in our lifetimes. And it is a brilliant development. It's opened up. So in its wake comes all kinds of other ways of being sexually. They are fighting, and you know, transsexuals, all fighting for their space. And we are in a kind of early stage of development where they are so emphatic about making their corners and their spaces that they are patrolling the boundaries of what is correct to be said, with a kind of emphasis that I think in 20 years will have vanished, completely vanished. And it'll be like the famous bar scene in Star Wars, you know, that there'll be every kind of sexual expression completely tolerated, and no one will be bothered by it.
Well, it's nice to see you have such an optimistic view of the future.
I have quite an optimistic view. What happened to gays, and thinking back, you know, to Turing's time.
Sure.
The speed of it.
It's remarkable. I could never have guessed it 10 years ago that and I think that my feeling is that it happens with such speed because of, and maybe that's why this young people's movement for the climate will be something. When I saw people my daughter's age, they knew gay people, and for them it was nothing. I realized it didn't matter what the Supreme Court did or 60-year-old white men. It was already a done deal. The next generation couldn't see it. They just had no understanding. And so maybe the next generation, although maybe they're going to suffer because of what's happening, that maybe this climate, quote unquote, debate that's happening will just be.
Well, I really hope so, because it needs such a profound transformation. But smoking is an amazing thing. I mean, the transformation there. I was never a smoker. I always hated it, but I could never say it because it was unmanly, to even complain about it. And when Christopher Hitchens was still alive, he's a very heavy smoker, and he started complaining about how the walls were closing in on him. I said, "We got you bastards on the run. Finally, now you're smoking huddled in street corners outside buildings, and you're the pariahs." I said, "I was the pariah. Right. Now it's your turn."